Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tennis Weekly with Joel, Kim, and Chris. On today's Tour Catch-Up, brought to you by Trace.
Anisimova wins second WTA 1000 of 2025.
Sinner cramps in Shanghai exit.
And Sabalenka returns as Wuhan gets underway.
Kim, Chris, today is the 6th of October, and we are here to catch up on the week in tennis at Tennis Weekly HQ. We are back to normal recording duties on a Monday night, and we have lots and lots to discuss. Amanda Anisimova has won her second WTA 1000 title of the season in Beijing. Linda Noskova has also come of age with a run to the final. Shanghai is also underway. Everyone's favourite talking point on the tour, court speeds, is still everyone's favourite talking point on the tour. And Alcaraz Zverev has stoked the fire. We are going to be getting into that. Plus, we have an exclusive interview at the start of the second half with Tareq Nazlawy, founder of Trace and co-creator of Collect, the official collection game of the ATP. Very, very excited to hear that. But guys, we're in Asia. Tennis is happening, but there's also a lot of retirements happening.
Yes, it's almost like no one's left in the tournaments that are currently happening. It's retirement central. So who's is it now left to pick up the pieces? I don't know.
When are we going to get the call up?
It's survival of the fittest, and I'm not sure any of us are the fittest. Not to be rude to any of us, but
no, not quite at that level.
No, not quite at that level. It's very tough out there. I think we're much safer in the cooler climes of Europe right now.
Yeah, well, we'll be getting into what is currently going on in Shanghai and what happened at the tail end of last week after our most recent episode.
This episode is brought to you by Trace.
Trace is a sports technology startup founded on the principle of recognizing true sports fans through free-to-claim digital memorabilia.
And this year, Trace have partnered with the ATP to create Collect, the official collection game for tennis fans.
Fans can now collect matches from the season's biggest events, including this year's Shanghai Masters and the Nitto ATP Finals.
Each collectible marks a moment in a fan's journey, building a personal timeline of their season and the moments they followed. So even if you can't be courtside, you now have an official way to be recognised for following every moment.
At each tournament, fans will be able to root for their favourite players and collect their digital keepsakes from each day's action, available for just 24 hours on match day.
Each collectible is hand-designed by the Trace team, turning tennis matches into a collectible memory, incorporating digital artwork generated from official match data and our participation as fans, transforming on-court drama into striking visuals.
At the end of each tournament, fans will be entered into draws to win prizes. The more you collect, the more draws you're entered into. Prizes include official merchandise from participating tournaments.
Sign up today for free and start collecting matches from the Shanghai Masters at link.trace.fan/ATP. That's link.trace.fan/ATP.
The link is in the description.
Joel, I believe you went to a pub quiz last night and some tennis came up. And, we love quizzing on the podcast. We've got a quiz in the second half, as always, coming up. But tell us what happened yesterday. Did you get it right? And what was the question?
I know we've spoken about this before, but that pressure when a tennis question comes up in any sort of quiz and you as a tennis fan feel like immediately like you've got to get it right. Otherwise, especially if you're a tennis podcaster, it's like...
I was going to say, not just a fan hosting a podcast,
Yeah, you're not just casual fan, Joel. You actually run a quiz every week pretty much on a podcast.
It's like the most cardinal sin, isn't it? If you're like, run a quiz, you're a quiz master on a tennis podcast every week. And yeah, a question comes up, you feel like you have to get it right. Fortunately, I did get it right. Phew. And I'm making this into a little bit of a question because I'm going to tell you the answer now was Jannik Sinner. My question to you is, what do you think the question was?
Oh, reverse question this is.
Right.
I like it.
Reverse question engineering, yes.
Who won Wimbledon?
Oh, that's a good one.
Is that too basic?
Which player was banned for an anti-doping violation?
I knew someone was gonna go for that.
Would a pub quiz in South London go there?
Yes. No, they want to enjoy what happened at Wimbledon.
It was a little bit more neutral than that. It was which And they gave away, it was quite easy because they gave away the nationality as well. They said, which Italian tennis player has reached the Grand Slam final of all the Grand Slams in 2025,
So, a dead cert then, Joel.
Yeah,
I'm assuming you did get that correct.
The only Italian to make a final, right?
Exactly. And when you know the answer and you just sort of want to bask in that sort of that moment that people are looking to you, hoping you know the answer, and you just want to kind of take in that moment. I made sure to have a good kind of 15-20 seconds before I was like, don't worry, everyone, I've got this.
Surely someone got there before you in those 15 to 20 seconds.
Everyone on my team, everyone looks at me for kind of the sport questions. So no one else knew the answer in my team. So
wow.
I let
I
let the fear kind of set in a little bit, and then I was like, don't worry, guys, I've got this.
It was a good job it wasn't on the buzzer with other teams then.
20 seconds later, Joel's still trying to make sure.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I haven't been to a quiz this week. I'm actually going to one in a few days. I'm hoping tennis will come up, fingers crossed.
Jaume Munar might be an answer.
Jaume Munar might be the answer.
Which other Mallorcan?
Well, I was going to say, talking about other Mallorcans, Rafa was doing the rounds on social. I saw in the media the other day, because he was made an honorary doctor of the University of Salamanca, which is a very historic university in Spain.
Wait, he's not on the golf course. They pried him away from the golf course.
This isn't Mallorca University.
No, it's mainland Spain, but he was donning a very fetching sort of light blue.
It looks like a lampshade, listeners.
That's a good description.
You pull that thing around his neck and the light goes on.
Yeah, listeners, if you Google Rafa Nadal, University of Salamanca, you'll see what we are looking at. It's, yes, hats that look a bit like lampshades, and a sort of cloak.
I believe the correct technical expression is mortarboard.
A mortarboard. Yeah, well, I didn't wear that when I graduated.
Oh, okay.
What he's wearing, but maybe it's the Spanish version. But they're a very historic institution. He is now incorporated into the official association of doctoral degrees of the University of Salamanca, and is the first athlete ever to have been bestowed this incredible honor on. So yeah, it was a nice quite bizarre thing to come across this week.
Dr. Rafa, is that what it is?
Dr. Rafa Nadal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness, more qualified than all of us, I believe.
Absolutely. I don't know if we'll be getting any honorary
doctorate of Grand Slams.
Yeah. Doctor of Roland Garros.
Well, yeah, Doctor of Clay, perhaps.
PhD.
Yeah.
But in other news as well, Iga Swiatek, she's not quite got a doctorate yet, but she's kind of appearing in a video game. Yes. I'm hearing on the grapevine.
Yeah, I saw this the other week, and I thought it was just too good not to bring up. But Iga Swiatek's tennis racket has been put in to a new horror survival game called Dying Light: The Beast. And I believe the connection here is that the people who make this game are Polish, and they wanted to bring in Iga Swiatek into the game somehow. So they've decided on bringing in her racket, and I think it is being used as a weapon in this game against zombies.
Are you sure this is a real story? This has happened before, yes, Joel. You've been caught out.
I've seen stills.
None of this seems real.
I've seen stills of the racket in the game, and I don't know how good or effective of a weapon it is, but apparently it comes with the inscription "Queen of the Clay, Killer on the Grass," referring not just to her 4 Roland Garros titles, but also her Wimbledon triumph. So, yeah, very interesting.
Swatting away zombies with her Technifiber racket. We've got it all.
The crossover we all needed.
Maybe a Halloween special it's giving, right?
Well, Halloween is coming up, so that could be quite fun. Any gamers out there listening, maybe you could get your.
Have you hit any zombies?
Yeah.
Please tell us.
Let us know if you're a listener and you are playing this game and you've used the racket. Tell us, how effective is it against zombies?
Zombies. Well, Chris, what about you? Any zombies or lampshades in your highlights of the week?
It's a real mixed bag. No, I'm on this. Well, actually, it is a mixed bag. I'm giving away a bag. The bag from last week with Babolat. I'm actually doing the serious business here and making sure that we do honor what we did on our social channels where we were giving away one of the Pure Strike rucksacks. This was for International Podcast Day, which has now come and gone. And we had many entries. So thank you to everyone who entered. And thank you for Babolat for sponsoring our last episode. And the winner is, a little drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Ooh. Happy Go Beck on Instagram. So Becky, you are our winner. We will be reaching out to you in the DMs. And for everyone else, there's a reminder that there still is for one day until the end of the 7th of October, depending on when you're listening, where you can get 15% off the Pure Strike range. So do make sure you take advantage of that whilst it's still live. And once again, well done, Becky.
Amazing. Well done. Very lucky winner there, and we'll be in touch. I think that moves us on now to what has been happening on the tour, because doctorates aside, zombies aside, winners aside, we had another winner, and that's Amanda Anisimova winning in China, her second WTA 1000 of the year, beating Linda Noskova in the final in a bit of a sort of up and down scoreline. But Amanda getting the job done 6-2 in the final set. We were talking last week, weren't we, about who we thought was going to come through, and I think one of you did throw her name out there.
I did say Anisimova.
Well done, Joel.
We were already at the quarterfinals, Joel. It doesn't count.
But yeah, her season post the Wimbledon double bagel has been pretty damn good, hasn't it? She's 20-4 on the season after Wimbledon and picking up another title here. What impressed you so much from Anisimova during the course of the Beijing title, Chris?
Well, I think the question was always around how she's going to respond after a tough loss. You know, she was obviously very disappointed with the US Open result, but she's obviously very, very focused, very motivated, because she was really going after this title. I think she meant business throughout. The way that she dismantled Coco Gauff in that semi-final, I think really did kind of make it clear that she's looking to add herself to the mix when it comes to the very top of the game. I mean, she's made the Grand Slam finals, but she's also beating some of these top players in tournaments outside of the slams. But I have to give it a special mention as well to that match with Paolini, because that was probably up there for match of the year in terms of the level. So exciting to watch. Such a great advert for women's tennis. And after that match, I kind of felt like she was going to come through. So I did agree with you in the end, Joel, but I think I had Paolini winning that match. But either way, Anisimova, what a surprise package in the second half of the season. I always think it all turned around, Joel, when you spoke to her at Queen's.
I know.
And now look at her.
Her lucky charm.
I mean, it's interesting because her record in finals actually this season hasn't been that great, because she lost that final in Queen's and she's lost 2 Grand Slam finals as well. And I wondered if that was gonna, impact, have an impact or an influence in the result against Noskova. But I think what I've been impressed by is the fact that even when she's been in those kind of difficult moments, against Paolini, when it looked like, in the kind of deep end of that third set, it was Paolini's to lose. In the previous round before that as well, against Mukova, losing the first set. I think previous forms of Anisimova, she kind of might have let that go and be like, oh, it's not going to be my day. And, it would have ended in a defeat. And there've been a few moments in this tournament where she's been in those situations and she just kind of has this belief and this motivation about her. And I think that's come from the fact that, she's been to 2 Grand Slam finals this season. She's playing great tennis. And there's a real kind of, I don't know, woman on a mission here. And I don't know if, she was motivated a little bit by, qualifying for Riyadh and the WTA end of season finals. But yeah, very impressed with how, she was able to come out and outlast really some of her opponents. I think we know that she can, blast players off the court, but she's also able to stick with them when her tennis isn't necessarily the best and still come out with a victory.
That wasn't the case at Wimbledon, was it? Where obviously she talked about the fitness being such a problem, and then she's turned that around because she looked just as strong, if not stronger than her opponents towards the end of these pretty long matches. I mean, she does keep the points quite short, but at the same time, she's definitely learned that lesson that physically she needs to improve. And now you can't guarantee that if you go to 3 sets, that you're going to be able to outlast her.
I mean, she's won 11 straight deciding sets now. So if only those Grand Slam finals had
Went
gone
to 3.
to a
If only she
third.
won a game at Wimbledon. Yeah.
I know. But I mean, like you said, Joel, she's now qualified for the WTA finals. She could end up finishing the year as world number 3 because she's now ahead of Coco Gauff in the race. Obviously, she beat Coco Gauff very easily in the semi-finals in Beijing.
That could have been a double bagel. Really, it was very, very close. I think she was 5-love up in both sets. It was like I was like, what is happening here?
Is she the kind of true default American number 1 now over Coco Gauff based on the last few months? Would you say?
Oh, go on, Joel. I'll let you have this one.
I think so. I think with how comprehensive that victory is over Coco Gauff, I think you have to. I think you have to kind of say that Anisimova is the American, number 1, at the moment. I know kind of a few years ago with Anisimova, she was very much talked about as the future of American and tennis, and I think that was obviously put on hold for a few seasons, but I think we're emerging and getting back to a point where I think we can start to see that again. And I think it's really exciting because, going into next season, it feels like she's a player who not only could become a first-time Grand Slam champion, she's certainly playing that sort of tennis, but who's to say, she can't even go further and be a world number 1, because the more and more of these performances she puts in, it feels like the more and more tennis matches are on her racket, similar to that of a Aryna Sabalenka.
Oh, you went even further, Joel. You went not just American number 1, you went world number 1.
Wow,
that's pretty
punchy. She'll have, more points to gain at the start of next season. She's had a really strong second half of the season, but
she's got the consistency. I think that's the thing that has been so pleasing to see. I think she's been able to kind of bounce back from Wimbledon. She's putting all of these kind of results together, and I think it's the consistency that makes me think, yeah, she could be the American number 1. But I don't doubt maybe she could break up the cartel at the top perhaps, and really potentially be a future world number 1.
Well, she's beaten all 3 of the top players. I think she's the only player this year to beat all 3 of them. Is that true? I hope I haven't made that up, listeners. But that's beating Sabalenka, Swiatek, and Coco Gauff. She obviously has lost to some of those players as well this year, so it doesn't necessarily mean that she's dominating that, because obviously we all know what happened at Wimbledon. But at the same time, you'd have to think it is quite exciting. I think I'm very excited by the fact there is this fresh energy at the top who's really kind of bringing their game in some of these big tournaments, because she's so fun to watch. She hits so big. I mean, she hits bigger than the men consistently at the US Open in terms of the speed she was getting off that backhand, for example. So it's proper like firepower that she has. And I think that's something where when you watch the matchups with players, it does upset the player's rhythm. I mean, Coco doesn't like it. Swiatek doesn't like it. And also against Sabalenka, she has a pretty good chance. So I probably would say, Joel, I'm not saying she's going to go number 1.
No.
But I think she's definitely going to get a Grand Slam next year.
Which one?
Ooh, okay.
Which one do you think?
Ooh, I'm going to say maybe she's going to get Australia, just because she's played well there before. And I think she's going to start the year well.
Do you think, based on this year, though, out of the American women who have won Grand Slam, so Coco Gauff at the French, Madison Keys at the AO, whose season would you rather have? Would you rather have had a Keys' season, 1 Slam win, kind of tailed off after that, or would you rather have Anisimova with 2 WTA 1000 titles, 2 Grand Slam finals, making a strong second half of the year? That's a great question.
I think you've got to, I mean, I would always go for a Grand Slam title.
Yeah.
I also, if I was, Madison Keys at this stage of my career, I think that is probably, such a fantastic moment for you that I would want to feel that feeling of finally achieving that. But equally for Coco Gauff, I mean, to prove that she can back it up and win another one. But going into next year, I'd much rather be in Amanda Anisimova's shoes right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, going into next year, she's in a strong position. I mean, let's talk about just the final. She played Linda Noskova, who was in her first WTA 1000 final. She actually saved 3 match points in the semi over Pegula to make her way through. And it was a bit of a crazy scoreline in the final. Anisimova won the first set to love, and then Noskova kind of clinched the second 6-2, and then it was, kind of a bit up and down. But what did you make of Noskova's performance in that final, given that it was the biggest final of her career? Joel, you've always been quite a fan of Noskova. I'm going to come to you for this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think she handled herself really well in the final, particularly from a point where she had she got bageled in that first set. So to kind of respond to that, I think was really impressive. I think any day she can hit really clean from the back of the court. She's very she can be very aggressive. Again, I sometimes wonder if the belief is there, and I think what this result is going to do is give her that belief that she does belong at this level. Because a few years ago, again, I think in a similar position to Anisimova, really being touted as a kind of a future of women's tennis. She won the juniors at Roland Garros, came on to the WTA Tour quite early, and has had good results here or there. I remember that victory against Iga Swiatek at the Australian Open, but it felt like this tournament has been a bit of a coming of age story. And I hope the victory she kind of put together, particularly at one in the semi-final against Jessica Pegula, gives her that belief that she does belong, at the top here. It may have taken a little bit more time than perhaps some people were expecting, but the fact that she's doing this at 20 years old is very, very impressive, and hopefully she can kick on from here. So I think she maybe just ran out of steam a little bit towards the end, and maybe if she kind of reflects on it, she needs to kind of think about how she kind of starts the match against an opponent who's hitting really big. But yeah, really good performance otherwise.
Yes, and no shame in losing in her first WTA 1000 event. I'm sure we'll see more of Noskova to come. But let's have a look at the ATP tour now, because we've had Shanghai. It's underway, it's ongoing, but it hasn't got off to the best of starts in terms of, I guess, star power, because we've had quite a lot of withdrawals, retirements, some injury concerns, and I mean, I suppose the biggest of them is Jannik Sinner has had to retire from his match against Griegspoor in the third round with a really bad cramp in the third set. So sort of, I guess, puts a real damper on the tournament, because so far our 7 have basically not played, like 7, well, more than 7 to be fair, if you include kind of the withdrawals before the tournament began. But yeah, what did you make of Sinner retiring? We don't often see this from him, because aside from the Cincinnati, it's now the second Masters he's withdrawn from in a row. But what did you make? Because it's not a good look, is it, when your sort of second best player in the world is having terrible cramp and having to struggle off court?
Pretty
Chris?
Brutal out there, I've got to say. I mean, I would not want to be playing. We talked about it at the start of the episode, but the humidity combined with what we will also be talking about, a slower court, does mean that it's so much harder, so much more physical out there. We don't normally see this. I think we can't necessarily blame the withdrawals on Shanghai. I think obviously Alcaraz, Draper and Tsitsipas withdrew before the tournament started. Mm-hmm. But in terms of some of the players and the caliber of the players who are going out and retiring, I mean, like Sinner, Machak and Rude, that's not players who I thought would be kind of going out, because of the fact that the attrition of what's required out in China is one step too far for them physically. So that's very surprising. I do think it kind of begs the question around the fact that physically, is that always going to be Sinner's biggest vulnerability? It's not going to be his forehand or his backhand or his serve. The mentality, I don't think we're going to say it's that, but are there still some question marks physically, or can we allow him the fact that he has retired at 2 Masters?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is necessarily great from Jannik Sinner's point of view. I mean, now does have an unwanted record, because since the format's introduction in 1990, he's now the first player to lose via retirement as defending champion at multiple and consecutive Masters 1000 events. So from that point of view, not great. I still feel like the tour is as we've heard recently from Kasatkina, it's she's reached breaking point, and I do think that it's gone too far, and I don't like this idea that these matches have now become like survival of the fittest. Like, yes, that absolutely should be an element of the game, particularly when it comes to kind of best of 5 set tennis. But I don't think it should be as much of a kind of consideration or an influencer at best of 3. Credit to Greek sport because he did so well to hang in, particularly in that second set, and push it to a third. So I do have to give kind of credit there, but I just feel like, yes, Sinner does have these vulnerabilities, but I think the kind of the court and the situation and the conditions have been pushed to such an extreme. It's going to make these situations, more likely when really we just want to see the winner kind of prevail. I think a lot more based on like the tennis they play as opposed to is their body going to break down or not.
Does lead us to the question on scheduling. I'm thinking, should players have played the week before this who wanted to make a deep run in Shanghai? A lot of criticism has been made, especially from Carlos Alcaraz, around the scheduling. Iga's also made a similar criticism. The women arguably have it a bit worse at the moment, going back to back Beijing to Wuhan. But having said that, the fact that there are so many mandatory tournaments, do you think that is something that should be a factor? I know that Alcaraz made comments we talked about. Djokovic made more comments this week about Alcaraz's comments and the season. Do we think the players aren't prioritizing their bodies? And potentially what Djokovic maybe was alluding to, Kim, is the fact that they're actually prioritizing the paychecks a little bit more than their bodies at times?
I mean, who wouldn't? 40 retirements and withdrawals at Masters 1000s events for the men in 2025, comparing that to just 12 in 2022. Something is going on here.
I mean, I agree with Djokovic. So he was asked about this week and he had a bit of criticism, like you said, Chris, about Alcaraz and other top players who are, going and playing these exhibitions that have, economic advantages. And so he said that was a bit contradictory, but also mentioned that, it's all very well complaining, but you need to understand the business side of things and sort of how it works and kind of invest the effort to change things. So I think he was kind of trying to get them to take a bit more ownership and
join
try
the
and
PTPA.
change the system from within. Yeah. But definitely, he obviously, did agree with the fact there is too many. He doesn't like the longer Masters events that we've got now, which is contributing to this. And it just sadly doesn't seem a surprise that we have, that stat you just mentioned, Joel, like the big increase from just 3 years ago. It's that alone shows that it's definitely a growing issue, and it's not good for the fans, it's not good for the sponsors, not good for the players. So who is benefiting from it? I guess the last person standing. I mean, do you think we could have a surprise winner in Shanghai now? Who do you think is it to lose? I mean, Djokovic is still in. Would you say he is now the favorite?
And he did throw up on court, had a real battle against Jannik Hanfmann that didn't make me think that he's necessarily going to win the title. I'm going to look at some of the most physically fit out there. I'm thinking, Alex de Minaur, this is your moment to have that win this season.
Yeah.
I think he is. I mean, he's like a Duracell bunny. He could just go and go and go, I think. And maybe this is the chance that he needs. And I mean, one player who won't be winning it is Zverev, who's already out. So it's even more open than it was before.
And talking of Zverev, he has been grumbling about the court speed, based on what Federer came out and said recently about the courts being slowed down to benefit Sinner and Alcaraz, as per this theory. Zverev basically echoed that and agreed with what Federer was saying, and just basically saying, you have to play the same way on every surface. There's no variety, and there's don't have that difference in game styles and surfaces anymore. And the tournament organizers are just trying to favor Alcaraz and Sinner. What did you make of his comments? Do you agree, or do you think it just sounds a bit like he's whinging because he's not been so good on the old results lately? Joel?
I mean, I take his point that I think the court speeds have slowed. And I think actually, if you look at the if you look at the court speeds of the Masters 1000s events, it looks like from the statistics that are being kind of shared online, Shanghai has markedly down from last year. 32.8 down from 42.4. For context, 32.8 makes this a kind of slow medium court, whereas 42.4 would be medium fast. So I do think he sort of has a point, but I don't necessarily think that organisers are doing this just for Alcaraz and Sinner. I wonder if it's more kind of from a fan point of view and putting on a great show and making sure there's lots of kind of extended rallies and they can see the most of two opponents on a tennis court. So it's hard to agree with his kind of full statement. And to me, it's more not just about kind of court speed. It's about kind of adaptability and for players and, seeing, challenging them in terms of how they can, adapt to all these different types of surfaces. And I think that's what's frustrating, for Zverev, because it feels like maybe he just plays the same brand of tennis, whatever tennis court he steps on.
That's actually what the stats say. I was going to say, Joel, in terms of Sinner, Alcaraz and Zverev, Zverev actually plays the most similar in terms of the data side of things across all court surfaces and tournaments, whereas we've seen a lot more variety in terms of the adaptation that you've mentioned of going more aggressive or a bit more defensive at times from Sinner and Alcaraz. So they actually are changing things up a little bit more than Zverev is, who says that all the courts play the same when actually he's playing the same. So I think he is one to blame everyone but himself on many occasions. And I think we're all in agreement that tournament directors do want a Sinner Alcaraz final. I think that's pretty clear because that is the 1v2, that is the blockbuster match. So I think that's where it does become a bit too much of a stretch that their activity being slowed down, especially when some tournaments it does show that to be true, but the majority, the evidence isn't necessarily for that because we've had changes in locations. Miami changed location, Canada changes every year. It does just make me think that people are jumping on the bandwagon that Roger Federer has now paved the way for them to under the security of Federer having said it. And maybe they always wanted to say that they thought tournaments were favouring them, but court speed's all they could actually muster at this stage to kind of explain it.
I mean, it feels like the point has been exacerbated at this moment in the season. It's a long season. We're at one of the final Masters events of the year, and we've got one of the slowest in the
toughest
courts,
conditions, right?
Toughest conditions, yeah. I
do empathise in that respect, but I mean, Sinner didn't make it through, and neither did Zverev. So I'm not sure for Shanghai this favours any of their top talent actually. And we're talking about who might be the one to break through and win it, or who might survive, which is not the brand of tennis that Masters want to be kind of putting on their posters of if you feel fit, play it. If you don't, skip it.
It's almost like going back to, before, when we were growing up, the Masters finals were best of 5 sets, and they decided to get rid of that because it was too much, too much on with the schedule, and just kind of asking too much of players at the end of a tournament. And we're not obviously there anymore, but it still feels like with some tournaments like Shanghai, it's so slow, and you're bringing that physical toil onto the players in a completely different way.
Well, Zverev hasn't adapted well because he lost to Rinderknecht today. So he's
the French number one, maybe? No, not yet. We never know.
Maybe we'll see if, Alex de Minaur, maybe Musetti, Medvedev, even one of them
Felix,
can come away.
I'm thinking.
Felix, Djokovic, still plenty of...
Musetti has won the most Masters matches bar Alcaraz this season.
It's
really?
Crazy.
Yeah, no titles though, so just saying.
It's about when you win it, yeah. Well, let's see how Shanghai gets on. Will we have any more, big retirements? Let's hope not. And let's see how the court speed debate continues in the coming weeks. But we're going to take a quick break now. Do join us in the second half where we'll be discussing, looking ahead to the Wuhan draw, where Arina Sabalenka and Iga Swiatek are the top seeds. And we also have a special interview with Tareq Nazlawy, founder of Trace and co-creator of Collect, the official collection game of the ATP. So do not go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Tennis Weekly podcast. And now, listeners, something a little different. We have our partner Trace joining us on the podcast. Trace is a sports technology startup and an official partner of the ATP. Together, they've launched Collect, a playable collection game for tennis fans. Fans will be able to record the moments they followed, starting from 4 events in 2025, including this week's Shanghai Masters. It works by giving fans free-to-claim Trace digital memorabilia in the form of generative art, capturing the story of the moment using data from the event. And we have Tareq Nazlawy joining us to tell us more. Tareq, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Chris. Pleasure to be here.
Firstly, whenever we have someone on, we have to ask, are you following the results? What's caught your eye this week? We've been talking about it already on the podcast. Anything in Shanghai that's caught your attention?
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to be pretty open playing field this coming week with Shanghai. Obviously, like there was some news before the tournament even kicked off. Great to see Novak in. I was personally a bit bummed to see Carlos out from this one, but that does make a bit of room for people. I mean, I've got the Taylor Fritz match on the live scores right now, just keeping my eye on that because yeah, I've got a sort of soft spot for Taylor as well, and would definitely like to make sure we see him go through at this early stage. So just if you see me sort of making any kind of movements, it might be because there's a score change over there.
You're more up to date than I am, but no, Taylor has an awful lot of people who have a soft spot for him, especially after I think the result in Japan, where he was sort of collecting different anime sort of things, a bit of a fan favorite. But we do also like to ask people if they have any fan favorites of their own, and if there's like anything you can share from your tennis journey, from when you first started to kind of get into the sport, and who you back now, if it's not just Taylor Fritz.
Yeah, so I mean, first things first. Like, I'm not a diehard tennis fan. I didn't grow up sort of playing tennis through university and all that kind of stuff. But I am a diehard obsessive about a few things in life. In sport, for me, it's motorsport and F1. But like, there's definitely a clear sort of dots join for me that have just given me a totally new appreciation for this sport. And I think also what should surface when it comes to the narrative of the sport. I mean, when I grew up, I was watching Wimbledon with my mum, and she would scream at the TV, and it doesn't matter who's playing, and that was fascinating for me because as a sporting spectacle, it felt like the kind of experience where that no matter which match you're watching, you may always feel like you've got a slight allegiance for somebody over the other, even if it's not like you'd answer the question, I'm a massive Novak fan or whatever it is. It's like you find yourself wrapped up in the momentum swings between these two players. But that's what I thought tennis was, and I think there are still many fans out there that think tennis is like Wimbledon and the
like
US
once
Open.
a year. Yeah,
it's like, oh, it's the summertime, let's break out the Pims and watch Wimbledon, right?
Yeah, doesn't matter who's playing.
Doesn't matter who's playing. It's just like it's a cultural moment, and there are some of those events which have kind of reached that sort of cultural moment stratosphere. But since then, and by the way, Novak was appearing on the scene, as I was still, at that stage, and to see him sort of still, at the top of the sport, more or less, right, at this stage it's like Lewis Hamilton, of tennis. But like I didn't really sort of have a deep connection with tennis since then until we started working with the ATP, right? So we'll talk a bit more about Trace and all that, but we did a project for Formula One fans, which really caught their attention because we were able to sort of like capture this drama of a race in a totally different medium, which fans really, really loved, that they could keep and hold from races. And they were like, we would like to do that for our fans. And we're like, okay, let's have a look at how the sort of the structure of the season works. Like, what's the stories? What's the drama that we really want to surface? And we did our first program with them around the ATP Finals and last year. And to me, that was when I had so many aha moments because firstly, you really understand like how the rankings work, right? Like the 1000s, 500s, 250s, and the sort of there's the rankings and there's the race to Turin, and they're not exactly the same thing.
No,
by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, that like they're quite different. There's quite a lot to wrap your head around there. But then you start to understand like what's really at stake at each stage across the season. And that was when you start to really kind of, you know, fall in love, I guess, with the story. And the finals itself, the format of the finals, the whole sort of round robin style of it, I really loved. In fact, that was the first tournament I actually went to in person. And, you know, if you grew up watching Wimbledon, then you go to the ATP finals, you're like, this is crazy. It's like a dance. It's like a dance.
It's so different. It really is.
It's like a disco, like in between matches or whatever. You know, there's real sound coming from that crowd, and a very iconic vibe inside there. And of course, to see Jannik enter in, and obviously to see him be victorious as well, and that was very, very special. But the format really spoke to me. I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. Like, how do the mechanics of the game work? You know, like how do, if you've ever designed any kind of game, you're like, how do the mechanics work? Like, what's the asymmetry of upside and downside of success and failure and choices and consequences? And is this
the
player gonna
margin
play?
is small in tennis, right?
Yeah, and as the years go by, it seems to get smaller and smaller, right? So yes, I think like I have definitely started to enter the rabbit hole on tennis through this work that we're doing with the ATP, and you know, fallen in love with some of the characters of the sport. But it just feels to me like a sport where you know, that seasonal narrative is actually not the easiest to follow for somebody who's, you know, a little more distant from it. But there's so much to it, a lot more than meets the eye.
And you've really got to be in the trenches. It's a whole year. I mean, you talk about the fact with players, there's no rest, but for fans, there's also no rest when there's so much happening on the tour. You mentioned that kind of the F1 side of things was what kind of got you into the tennis and the ATP partnership side of things. Before we go into a bit more detail about exactly what Collect is and what Trace is that how the partnership came about? And then was that where the journey started with working with the ATP?
Yeah, it is. So just to sort of like contextualize this a little bit, I spent a bunch of my career at Adidas, and responsible for like digital innovation globally, and a bunch of other things like the fashion e-commerce business. As you can probably tell, my wardrobe is still got a bunch
very
of stripes in
Adidas
it.
What you're wearing,
Yeah,
listeners.
it's about
bright green.
Adidas.
We see the three stripes.
Yeah, it's about as three stripes as you can get my outfit for today. But after that, I joined a company which was looking at how emerging technology would apply in culture, you know, including blockchain and AI and things like that. And we actually came up with a prototype for Trace because we were asked questions by our clients, right? Like, hey, you know, we're a football team or a rugby team or whatever, and we don't know who all our fans are. And like one of the biggest challenges facing our business right now is that the long-term value of the growth in our intellectual property value is going to come from really knowing fans and being able to activate fans and being able to monetize fans and all of that stuff. So we basically had a simple thing of like, well, why don't we just come up with a demo of like, if you give something to fans before you ask something of them, then what happens, right? Like, and so we made that for F1. In fact, you can see a poster of an example in the back there. That's for your listeners on audio. Sorry.
We can describe a lovely picture. Lots of, is that the road behind? Is that the track I can see?
There's we generated basically from race data these three-dimensional graphics of the story of the race, like what happens, but not like a picture of a car or a driver. It's just like, no, let's make some kind of artwork out of it. We did that at the end of 23, and then early in 24, the ATP called up and were like, look, I've seen every sort of fan engagement product out there, and you know what you did for the F1 fans things, that like it was elegant, like, you know, it seems like the numbers were really good. Can we do this for tennis fans? And so then
that's a great call to get, right? They're really a fan of the work that you've done.
Yeah, it wasn't the only call we got actually, but like it was a bit of a life thing as well, because, you know, you're speaking to somebody who's not running like a 10-year-old tech company who's like throwing around sort of, you know, advertising money to talk to the tennis fans and whatever. Like we're an early stage startup, and so we started the company actually off the back of that phone call, right? We spun out that tech from the studio that we developed it at. And myself and one other guy and a third that we pulled together, we refounded the company around that idea, knowing that like, okay, we've got a bunch of F1 fans now, like that we would love to do this in tennis. We'll get an investor on board and we're off to the races. And that's how that level of kind of trust. That's when I also like moved from Amsterdam back to the UK, brought my wife and 3 kids to be like, right, I'm gonna build a startup from the very beginning here.
You're moving to Wimbledon.
We're moving to the Lake District, somewhere
Yes.
that none of my family have ever lived before, except my mum's around here and all that kind of stuff. In fact, we lived with her for the first year of living here because looking for a house and all that kind of stuff. And so it was big. It was a big life move as well as a big sort of let's call it like company story. It was a big life move to do that. And the later that year, the results from the ATP finals were obviously like really, really strong. And that's why we're still working together, obviously. So it was very much like a bit of a phone call, a leap of faith, and a lot of support from a lot of people, investors and professional network, and of course family. And we're on a really good track. So feel very, very privileged to have to be in partnership with them, and for that to be a great springboard for the company.
No, it sounds like it's quite the journey you've been on with them, and it seems like even from last year there were huge numbers in terms of people who got involved. But now we've got to go into the detail a bit more. So in terms of what Trace are doing, and especially with Collect, could you give us a little bit more background into what people are signing up for, how that's working, and what they can expect from joining as a fan?
Yeah, absolutely. So what Trace is it's a platform that you can come along to and you collect your sporting memories. That's in the most simple terms, that's what it is. Why do we do that? Well, for many of your listeners, this will be like, how many tennis tournaments have I followed? How many tennis matches have I followed? And like, what do I have to show for that? I can't go to every single one. In fact, I can probably barely go to any of them, right? So for me, and I mentioned it was motorsport. I've watched, I think, 131 Formula One races without missing one in a row. I have only ever been to one, and I've got absolutely nothing to show for that, right? Now, when you couple that with the idea that, like, yeah, sure, like, I mean, every week or every tournament, every match, maybe I'm watching, maybe I'm following on social, maybe I'm catching up on highlights, but I'm here, I'm part of the culture. We think that that is worthy of recognition, and that for that recognition to be given to you in an artifact which actually elevates that moment and your connection in it, feels like a very easy gift to give. So why not, let's create that opportunity. And that helps you sort of build up that base of mementos, effectively, of like, imagine that if you're a Rafa fan and you'd collected, hundreds and hundreds of Rafa matches, that's like memorabilia, and some of those things are more important than others. Now, why is that also valuable? It's because we think that there are some things which should be, some access should come along with that, right? If I am a legit fan and I'm bona fide in that I genuinely care about the sport to follow it that much, then give me the best access to the sport, right? Like if and I know you mentioned this briefly just before we started, but like sometimes tickets to the best matches are quite scarce, right? And if you're competing with other people or even bots to get these things, then how do you actually, how can you actually say like a true fan should get the thing, right? A true fan should get access to this product. A true fan should get access to this ticket. If I do come along and I'm a true fan, is there a way for me to get a little bit more recognition or privileges while I'm on location? And if I'm a true fan of a particular athlete, like I don't mind that being known, right? Especially if like when I come along and there's a little signing, I get to come to the front. And we think that all of that cultural energy that you actually invest, and it is an investment because it's a sacrifice, it's your time. It's the most precious thing on earth. You should get a return on that. And all we want to do is give a marker for that. I'll be honest, that's also important for the ATP and for other rights holders because they need to know the fan. They need to know who we are if they're going to be able to serve us better, if they're going to be able to offer us products and experience which match what we care about. Then we've got to help them do a better job. And in doing so, we think the first thing is for a rights holder to give you something in recognition for that. And that's what Trace is. We just try and make it interesting by wrapping that in, well, what happened in the match? What was the drama that we can bring forward using data from the match? And how do we sort of involve the fact that there were thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of fans all over the world paying attention to this thing? How do we include them in this asset, right? How do we sort of use this like little memento of what happened in culture today, and you get to keep that for forever. And these things are provably scarce. They're part of an identity which you carry. You own all of your own data. We just think every fan should have that for any sport.
Like collecting almost like a credential, like a badge of honor. I feel like I wish I had that when I was younger, when I was watching the live streams for Daniela Hanchikova, who I was a big fan of. Kim, who also on the podcast, is a huge fan of Rafa. So as soon as you said Rafa, I'm sure she spent so many hours investing in her time in watching that. So I think that really does speak to the fact that people are so invested, and genuinely sometimes feel like you're in the trenches, by yourself, and at the end of it you might not have got the result that you wanted, but then it sounds like with Trace you have something really positive at the end of it, that's almost a memento from the good times and the bad times, which is all part of being a fan, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, for for every sport, there's going to be situations where, like, a team take Aston Villa recently, take Crystal Palace recently, take Lando Norris. For me, like, as an F1 fan, when Lando won in Miami last year, I'm like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this for several seasons, and I'm just like, now there's going to be a bunch of Lando fans who are going to be Lando fans, almost because of that. And I'm like, but I was here the whole time. I was here the whole time. I was here before they were big.
I know you want it like a sign above your head. It's like when an artist becomes really big, but you went to their first gig. It's almost the same thing. Like, you guys haven't earned the right to jump on this bandwagon yet.
I think, like, and that is a bit of an art form, because like you don't want to, in my view, like, this is about reflecting reality. It's not about keeping something small. It's about, as something grows, how do you honor the fact that that cultural energy, that capital, that emotion, that obsession has been invested for longer for some people than others. And the best way to do that is to give somebody something at that moment which compounds in value over time, right? And so as my identity grows, it's like having a passport with more stamps on it. This is more traveled, right? Well, so does my access increase with the commitment over time. I'm welcome to join anytime, but like, and I'm part of this global community, but like, the global community's now got a bit of a social graph around it, because, some people have just been more engaged for longer than others. And you make a game out of it, right? Like, there's a draw after every tournament for like various bits of like signed merchandise. And, I think we've got, towels and like stuff that you can have from the thing. Everybody's in with a shot, but like, if you've got a bit more of a streak and things like that, then you're in with more of a shot than others. Just like we did for sneakers, right? I used to run the sneaker app at Adidas, and like I said, you want to make sure the people who care, like, get enough access to reflect that investment. That to me feels like a noble pursuit. It's like it's just honoring, I think, the energy which we don't capture, which I think generally you could argue gets exploited in sport. Like, fans are generally seen as like a group of people to how do you best monetize them? And I'm like, well, there's gives and gets. And, if you follow the love first, the money follows. And our company is kind of built on that principle.
Something that I really enjoyed, Tareq, when we were speaking earlier, was around your journey into learning about tennis fans. And when you spoke about obsession, I think that's so interesting when it comes from the different background you have from like a sporting perspective. So I wanted to ask kind of about the uptake since you've kind of started this last year with the ATP and the ATP Finals, but also what have you learned about tennis fans that makes them sort of so different? And how has that kind of reflected the product that you kind of put forward with Collect?
Yeah. I mean, the rate of learning is insane. I mean, to start with the uptake piece, the in Turin last year at the finals, it was a sort of like, let's just suck it and see what happens, right? And we thought, let's shoot for like 50,000 fans, doing this. Like, with it, there's the ATP finals is an 8-day long thing. It's a new idea, like the idea that if you get, we're recruiting the first audience of fans that are going to help us to shape this. And it kind of went a lot faster than we thought. So in that 8 days, we had 75,000 fans join the experience. And there are 15 matches at the finals, right? The round robbies, the semis, and the final. And those 75,000 fans collected nearly 800,000 matches. So, more than 10 each out of the 15, which, when you think of any sort of mobile game or digital experience or something like that, that kind of stickiness was just it was almost like suspiciously off the charts, quite frankly. Like,
did you have to check the data? You're like, did they
yeah,
really 10 times they engaged with it?
yeah. We had to, well, not only did we check the data, we like made sure all captures were working properly, so we could like tell that, like, you know, we booted everybody out of the experience, so they had to log back in to make sure everybody's human, there's no like bots going on, etc. And what we learned from that is, and by the way, there was zero promise of like, oh, you do this and we're gonna like dangle this carrot, like, you know, like you get a chance to win like a, you know, a VIP, you know, sit down dinner with Jannik Sinner or whatever. Right? There was none of that. It was just you get to keep the artwork from the match.
And also, like, are you a fan, right? It just shows that there's all this
Yeah.
untapped potential when it comes to fans waiting to get more involved in something like this.
I think so. And some of the feedback that we got, what we did learn from that is that there's more than one audience out there as well, right? So some people will be coming because they're like they're a fan of a particular player, and so, you know, they'll be collecting just those matches. Some people will be coming because they are fans of tennis more broadly and are collecting lots of, you know, a lot of the matches. Some people are also coming because they're like, oh, maybe these collectibles get me something, and I'm not quite sure exactly what it is yet. So there's a wide variety of like of audience which are out there. Now we've been focused on trying to shape that for the people that are, you know, like as soon as you recruit an audience, you try and shape the product around who loves it most and how do you make them love it even more, right? That's just generally good product management. And so over the course of Canada and Cincy, we ostensibly the main change that we made there, honestly, was that the artwork was a little bit less data driven and less data visi type thing, and a bit more focused on player imagery and capturing matches, match scores at a higher level, so a bit less nerdy, a bit more accessible. But the big insight that we got from those two tournaments was like, you know what, like I do kind of like having something to have for the match, but like when I turn up, I'm turning up because like I'm generally rooting for somebody. And whether I'm rooting for them with my head or my heart, that's another whole thing, because I think that's a very interesting. There's lots of prediction games, and you can do sports betting pretty much any way you want. But often our head and our heart say different things. And so we said, well, why don't we just stick with the spirit of what we're doing? And like, let's just have, you know, instead of it just being a story of the match, it's the story of the fans who are here for this match and who's here for whom, and how do we reflect that in the artwork? And that's what we're going to be doing from Shanghai onwards. So there will still be an element of rewards in the program. So collecting across from the quarterfinals and the semis and the final, like there are streaks and you can unlock chances to win stuff. It's just part of the drama. But we're really listening quite closely to those sort of most highly engaged fans to sort of make sure we're surfacing those behaviors. And I think that more broadly than just tennis, this idea of like, if you're asking me to predict who's going to win, I might say one thing, but if you're asking me who I'm rooting for, I'm going to say another thing. And those two things sometimes coincide and they sometimes don't, and that's why we love it. So yeah, we've learned a lot. And every time that we do this, I just wish we could literally be just doing this for tennis every single day, because the rate of the velocity of what we're learning is so high. It's faster than we can actually implement it.
We also find when we do our predictions, it's head and heart all the time, and what you think will happen, or what your heart says. I mean, you root for players who you know have no chance in some of these encounters, but you just think maybe there is that possibility. And I think that's that thing about tennis, is that you just never know. And some of the results can really surprise you at times, especially, you know, in some of the earlier matches at some of the slams or tournaments like Shanghai. I was going to ask you, so now that we've learned more about Collect and what it offers and how you can get closer to the action by kind of getting involved, Shanghai is very pertinent because on Wednesday, I believe, is the time when you can start collecting from Shanghai. So if you could tell our listeners a bit more about what they need to do to start collecting and start to kind of engage with Collect.
Yeah. So we generate the collectibles from the matches from the quarterfinals onwards, right? And we'd love to do more as well, by the way. So if there's anybody out there in the comments who wants to say just do them all, I'm following it from the start. We're
like round one of like the 250 tournament in like Outer Mongolia. Like, let's get collectibles from that one, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, actually, as we look to scale it, of course, like we're generating these things, so we're just trying to sort of make good collectibles first and then more collectibles, you know, because we did get that feedback that like if you're following a player, you're following them across the whole season, across all tournaments, not just if they reach the quarters. And obviously like that's part of the segment that we really want to be able to serve as well. But in this particular case, to answer your question, from Wednesday onwards, quarterfinals onwards, easiest thing to do is get into the ATP's website or the ATP WTA Live app, and you'll see all of the, you know, the banners and the interstitials, which will lead you straight to the experience. It of course is something different every day, right? Just like the sport is, and there'll be a series of collectibles that you can grab over the 4 days. And there's a few rewards up for grabs as well, so don't miss out on your chance to get in with a reward. And we are listening to how any participant that wants to offer feedback, we are collecting that, and we would love anyone listening here who sees the value of what we're trying to do here for fans to pipe up.
Nice, and that's something we can get involved with almost immediately. But looking to 2026, is that part of the ambition? Would be like more tournaments, potentially more matches, kind of scaling it as well, I mean, as the company grows and as Collect grows. Anything you can tell us about what you have in store?
So, well, nothing we can announce officially, but like, of course, you're right that
You hinted at it. I had to ask.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we have a shared ambition with the ATP, which is that the recognition of tennis fans globally is something that like they want to be able to do, and it's part of, you know, the positioning of the. I shouldn't really speak on behalf of the tour there, but like the idea of identifying those tennis fans around the world and being able to give this value as part of that relationship is a shared thing. And so there are of course more tournaments to go after, and this can go many places. So yeah, within tennis, of course, we have the ambition to continue that. We are, you know, as I mentioned before, like we're not a one sport company either. So we've got a few things cooking as well on the motorsport side, and potentially also other sports which are global sports, which are difficult to follow around the world, shall we say, and where there's plenty of data to mess around with. So if you end up signing up for the tennis tournament with the ATP, you'll also end up, you know, getting notified when there's other things which might be interesting for you as a sports fan, because, you know, if you're a fan of one thing, there's a good chance you're not just a fan of that, especially in the US, right? If you're a fan of basketball, there's a good chance you're a fan of college football. You know, that's kind of a big overlap. So your identity isn't something which just belongs in one space, and that's what we're hoping to help every sports fan out there express.
Completely. If you're into sports, you're often into a lot of sports, and that can also make it even more challenging to follow them all and, you know, collect everything that's on offer. But thank you so much for that insight. I have to ask you something. We ask all of our guests this. You've already revealed you're in the Cotswolds, so I'm expecting a particularly British answer. But we ask all of our guests to tell us how they take their tea. So I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, correction, first of all, Chris. I'm not in the Cotswolds. I'm in the Lake District.
Lake District.
So,
oh, sorry. I just saw the fireplace, and in my head, I went straight to Cotswolds. Cottage vibe.
so many more miles north.
Yeah, that is actually, yeah. Also colder, a lot colder. So you're definitely drinking more tea.
Yeah, but I mean, this is not the answer you might have been expecting. But I take my tea as jasmine. So
Jasmine.
yeah,
We've never had that before. No milk, nothing.
No, I'm a 16 ounce of freshly ground coffee in the morning, filter coffee, pour over, drink it in 2 cups before 11 a.m. And after lunch, I'm a cup of jasmine tea. That's my caffeine
that
regime.
sees you through. Well, that's a first. We haven't had a jasmine tea as a response before. So thank you for that one. But no, and also thank you for joining us, Tareq. It's been great having you on, and it's great to hear about how you're doing all this exciting stuff for fans. And yeah, hopefully we'll have you on again sometime in the future.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, and for everybody out there. You know, we really are doing this for you. So jump on, get involved, and let us know what you think.
And if you are looking to get involved, all the information you need to sign up to be a part of Collect is in the description of this episode. From Wednesday, you can start to collect from the Shanghai Masters, so don't miss out on that opportunity to get closer to the action.
Do you know what? I've had an awful lot of matches that I think I would have collected memorabilia for Rafa in my time as a fan of his, and maybe I could move that on to Jaume Munar, perhaps. And I'm just thinking,
those memories.
Joel, you would have collected for Andy Murray. Chris, maybe Daniela Hantuchova.
Oh, for sure.
If this had been around in her day.
Oh, I'd be collecting for the live scores. But Joel, maybe you'll collect for someone else, a certain Susan.
Oh, Susan Lemons.
Yes.
Yeah, it is possible, Joel. You could do it
you could
free.
collect. Maybe they'll introduce the ATP Challenger Tour, because I think you and your mates, Joel, would love to collect some trace from that.
Yeah, I think that's what's so nice is that you could collect for any sorts of players. I think that's what's so great about like tennis fandom. You could follow so many kind of different players. It does make me think though, are there any matches I wouldn't have liked to collect?
You wouldn't, yeah, you would leave it.
I can give you one. I remember being at Wimbledon when Andy Murray lost to John Isner under the roof, and John Isner just botted his way to victory, and I was just like, this is not the way Andy Murray should be going out.
I might go Sam Querrey, Andy Murray as well at Wimbledon. That was a tough one. So you were still supporting though, so you can still show your support by collecting that one, Joel.
Very true.
Just put it in a different folder, yeah. But no, thank you, Tareq, for taking the time to sit down with Chris. That was really interesting. So, fantastic there. We do have time for a quick game, don't we? Before we kind of finish up today.
Oh, I've forgotten about this, Joel. We've got another game.
It's
I
thrown
do.
us out.
Unfortunately for you and our listeners, I'm not going to ask you about Wuhan Open champions.
Firstly, I've been saying Wuhan the whole time.
Wuhan. I don't know. It's not going to be
Sabalenka. She's the only one that's won it in my mind.
Exactly. No, it's going to be about Novak Djokovic. And
Kim, you're out, fully out.
And this is we're going to change it up slightly because you two are going to work as a team for this part of the courts. And the category I have for you is players that Novak Djokovic has defeated 20 plus times on the ATP Tour.
Ooh.
And there are 7
gracious me.
total.
Okay.
There are
Djokovic
7 in
dominance.
total. And do you want a clue? Do you want a little clue?
No.
No, you don't want a clue? Okay. So
actually, I shouldn't answer for both of us.
We are working together. I've got one idea already.
So you're working together. The way it's going to work
the same
is
idea.
You're going to give me one player name, and I'm going to say if it's correct or incorrect. And hopefully, if it's correct, we'll move on. And you can give me your second player name, etc., etc., and we can see how far we get. I'm going to set par score at 4 out of 7.
I reckon we've got this, Kim.
I think so.
Oh,
I've just realised the player that I was thinking of. I was thinking of players he's never lost to, but actually there are other players that he has played a lot who he would have had more than 20 wins over. So, Chris, should we go for one of those players first?
Oh, like an obvious one.
Like Rafa, for example.
I do feel like he's probably beaten him.
He has.
Maybe over 30 times.
I think, is it sort of 28 something?
It's almost like 29,
28
or something. Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Either way, we can agree. Yes.
Yeah.
So Rafa Nadal,
please.
That is correct. 31 times. It was 31-29 overall in the head-to-head. So
that's
Rafa
actually a very
Nadal
painful memory to bring up. Actually, that's not.
Has put you on the board. So yes, one correct answer. Who would you like to go for next?
Well, then should we go for Andy Murray on a similar?
Oh, not Federer. Do you think?
I think they might both. They might
could
both be
both
answers. I don't.
Yeah.
But
say Andy Murray. They probably played more.
He's beaten him a lot of times, even just in finals. I can count probably 10.
Yeah. There we go.
Andy Murray is a correct answer. Yes, very good. 2 on the board.
Phew. Okay. Are we going to do the hat trick of the big? We shouldn't we? Hat trick of the big four.
So.
Yes.
Yeah. Surely.
Federer?
Yeah.
Par is actually quite low for this because you get those 3. We all need one more.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, now you said
you can't
that.
Change
I'm going to change it now.
now.
Yeah, par is 5. Roger Federer is correct.
Woo.
And yeah, it is a bit too easy. I'm going to up it just during the game because I'm the rule master. So yes, you've got 3 out of 7. You've got the 3 easy ones.
We both have a good one in players that he's never lost to. I think he's actually quite famously beaten Gael.
Monfils,
Yeah, I think he's beaten him 20 times. I think we talked about that quite recently.
Yeah, definitely 18 plus. I remember seeing that stat, but I think they've probably played a few times since then. So shall we say Monfils?
I hope so.
Monfils?
Yeah.
Is a correct answer, yes.
Oh.
20-0.
Oh, God, that was quite tight.
So you've got 4. I'm looking for one more for par for the courts this week.
So I was thinking...
Medvedev, maybe?
No, but I was thinking I had 2 ideas. One is why don't we go for Stan, potentially, or is Joel doing this question because he played against Cilic this week? And it's making me think because they're like 38 and 37. That was the headline.
They would have played quite a lot against each other as well.
When they were younger.
It's got to be an older
well.
player. Yeah, it can't be anyone more recent.
So I think that's why Joel's bringing this one up.
Yeah. Shall we go
Cilic
for that?
first?
Yeah, I like that logic.
Cilic?
Marin Cilic.
Not Wawrinka?
You love a topical moment, so I'm gonna.
Well, Stan beat him in like 3 Grand Slam finals, so I don't know if
I don't think they
would have beaten him 20 times.
I've seen them play a few times in recent years, but it's never. I don't know. Let's go for that one first, and then we'll go for the other one.
Marin Cilic is the correct answer. Very good.
Well done.
Have we done it?
20-2. So very well done. You have reached par for the course.
Who else is on that list is the question.
So
would we have gone for Stan?
There are 2 other answers. And if you had said to me Stan Wawrinka, you would have been correct. Yes, he has defeated him 21 times.
So there's one that we haven't got.
One other player.
What about Songa or
I'm both going to give you one guess each.
Team Zverev, Medvedev.
Players.
I'll add a little bit of competition at the end.
Beaten 20 times or more.
Oh, it's not a fellow Serb, is it? No.
Who's going to go first?
Gasquet. What about Gasquet?
Okay, Kim, you going Gasquet?
I'll say Gasquet. Why
not? Chris?
I really don't know. If I had to say, I honestly don't know who I'd say. I've got to guess somebody though. Otherwise it's a bit lame, isn't it?
I'm going to have to hurry you.
Who's still knocking about? Well, Medvedev then.
Medvedev is incorrect. Richard Gasquet is also incorrect.
Who was it?
Thomas Berdych.
Wow.
25-3 in the head-to-head.
I think I follow him on Instagram,
there you
so
go.
I should have got that.
So Nadal, Federer, Murray, Berdych, Wawrinka, Monfils, and Cilic.
Well, we aced that, Kim, I think.
I think we did very well.
He had to adjust par because we were so far
exceeding
his expectations.
I was worried. Yes.
Yeah.
Listeners, let us know how you got on with that, with Djokovic's dominance on court there. No, thank you very much, Joel, for putting that together. And before we head off today, we've got Wuhan, just to do a quick preview of.
Wuhan.
Wuhan. Sabalenka's been very dominant here of recent years, but she's not got the best of draws, has she? Do we think she's maybe got a bit of a tough one?
Ooh, quite tough. Kalinskaya, never underestimate. Or your favourite, Kim. It's been a while since you mentioned Rebecca Sramkova.
Well, she's just waiting for her moment to shine. But yeah, we've got Osaka is playing Fernandez in the opener as well. Yeah. So that's
Noskova as well,
big
unseeded
first rounder
in that segment.
Yeah, fresh off the back of her final.
Kenin, not an easy part of the draw to be in, I would think.
Raducanu out for revenge in that top half as well. She could face Pegula early on. One player who won't be there is Anisimova, so that does mean that she can probably breathe a sigh of relief with the fact that she won't have to play her in the semi-finals, I believe.
And one thing I noticed, and I don't know if either of you can and let me know why this is happening, Victoria Mboko, she is already out to Alexandrova. Now, admittedly, that is a tough round one opponent, but she's not won a set since winning in Montreal. What's going on there?
That's a terrible drop off, isn't it?
That
like
is not
for several
good.
months.
Yeah, clearly it was too much too soon.
Pressure.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? But she's a great talent. But that's got under the radar. I know that you predicted her to beat Krejcikova, and that's the last time I heard of her. When Krejcikova did,
I mean, lost to
get that win.
Krejcikova at the US Open.
That's tough draw.
Lost to Potapova round of 64 in Beijing. So and now Alexandrova. I mean, they are tough. I think they are tough draws. But yeah,
first year on the tour, you can have a free pass. It's still won 1,000 title.
Yeah, can't take that away from her. So let's see. Quick prediction: who's winning the Wuhan title? Joel?
Oh, I am gonna say Coco Gauff.
Coco Gauff,
really?
After being sort of thrashed by Anisimova.
Yeah,
well, she's not in the draw, so she's got a good chance.
But yes, she's not there. Chris?
I was very impressed with Paolini in that loss to Anisimova, so I think Paolini could have a good shot at it.
Okay, I'm gonna stick with Arina Zabalenka. I think she loves these courts.
That's probably the best guess. Why didn't we say that, Joel?
Tricky, but gonna go with history. History's on her side.
She's going out to Kenin, I can tell. Round of 16.
Well, let's see. Watch this space.
We shall see. And also, Kim, we've got to finally mention Djokovic has got your favourite Jaume Munar tomorrow.
I know.
Shanghai.
Big match. Could it be Munar's finest moment on a tennis court?
Well, that was what you shared with us on our little WhatsApp group, wasn't it, earlier?
Well, he's in good shape and he's younger, so that tends to help in Shanghai, you know.
It does. And he's been mentioned about 4 times today, so the Munar count is...
the quota, we're way too high.
The Munar swear jar
It's going to be a drinking game. Drink every time we say Jaume Munar. Have a sip of your Hugo.
Oh, yes. Very nice indeed.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for our latest talk catch-up, brought to you by Trace here at Tennis Weekly HQ. We hope you've enjoyed the ride with us. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss a moment of action on the ATP and WTA Tours. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and all your favourite podcasting platforms out there.
And if you love what you're hearing, then be sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube.
You can stay connected with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X, as well as Threads. And the handle for all of those is Tennis Weekly Pod. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, then do make sure you send us a mailbag at tennisweeklypod@gmail.com or visit our website, tennisweekly.co.uk.
And we'll be back next week for another talk catch-up. But until then, it's goodbye from Kim.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chris.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on Tennis Weekly.